Alright, I've got a receipt stuffed back in there just to sort of dampen the blow when this thing drops. It's not a real good idea to dry fire this thing the way it's designed. Let's just take a piece of paper and we're just going to go with the corner of it. Try to set this thing off. There you go. In an ironic turn of events, as I was building this mouse trap, I saw for the first time in this house since we've moved in, I saw a field mouse down in here as I was building this thing. So that must have been a sign. So I set this thing up, and you can see it standing off just a little bit from the paddle that it lands down upon. So we've got something in here. And it took a couple tries. This is, I think, the second time I had to set it, because the first time I set it a little bit too heavy. You adjust how sensitive it is by how you position the trigger underneath this board. So let's see, let's hope there's nothing still alive in here and see what happens. And this sucker is, there's definitely one in there. There is one in there. Let's lift this up, pull this back. There he is, squished flat as a flitter. I've went ahead and cleared our little friend out of here, and I'm going to let you guys see how this is set up. It's really not that much different than how, say, a firearm trigger mechanism would work. So I'll go ahead and describe it in firearm terms, because that just happens to be what I know. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull this back, and what we do when we pull this back is we're putting tension, we're cocking the mainspring right here. This little black rope that you see run right across here is the mainspring, and what that does is it just puts a torsional force on this block, which is the connecting rod for the hammer. So we bring this in and we pull our hammer back to cock it, and then we engage our sear. So this, which hangs by a string, is our sear, and it's important that it hangs by a string because this is actually what holds, this is actually what resets the trigger. This is the equivalent of your trigger reset. It causes it to pop back, or we're popping it back forward, holding it up away, so that we have room for the trigger to travel. So this essentially sets our travel. We have our bar, our trigger underneath, which is this bar that I'm moving with my finger. There's a hook in the back which engages the hammer just to keep it from pulling out. That's what allows it to hinge up and down. It's engaged into the hammer. Alternatively, you could use a hinge, but hooking it on the back of the hammer is just convenient if you don't want to go out and buy a hinge. So that is how our hammer, or how our trigger pivots, and this is the trigger engaging the sear, and our trigger weight is adjusted by our hammer engagement up here, actually. So it's not adjusted by this. This will adjust our travel in the trigger, but this, the angle, will adjust how positive, you can see here, how positive the engagement is in our trigger hook. So we pull this forward, and let's see about where we stand here. See how sensitive we can make this thing. I want it to just start to drop under its own weight. Not quite. We're about there though. I think we are there. That is set up. That is very sensitive. A feather would set that off. So that is ready for our next use. We've already got a little bit of peanut butter in there. Our friend didn't get to finish his last supper. So, we're ready to go. That's all there is to it.